Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Belanger. Up next, it's trade season. Let's talk. Now, NFL trade deadline is officially November the 4th. But I think for the Baltimore Ravens, it's trade season right now. I am surprised that the Baltimore Ravens haven't already triggered a trade unless there's a trade being done and reported as I'm recording this video. But nevertheless, we're going to take a look at some positions and potential targets that the Baltimore Ravens should really be considering. Now, if I'm honest, I think this should be the most busy trade season the Baltimore Ravens have had in the EDC era. I think the Baltimore Ravens right now are teetering on total collapse, and not just for the 2025 season, but into the 26 off season and into the 2026 season. Now, why do I call it teetering on collapse? Well, the Baltimore Ravens have some high-end names that are going into free agency in the offseason. The Baltimore Ravens have some positions that they desperately need improvement, upgrade, and sustainability. And with the state of the Baltimore Ravens contracts right now, that all won't be done in the 26 free agency. That all won't be done in next year's draft. So it has to be done with offering up some assets in order to stabilize some positions of need that would offset who we lose in the 2026 free agency. So let's get into it. Can the Baltimore Ravens save this season? Well, that depends on what we consider saving. If the Baltimore Ravens were Super Bowl contenders, right now you can't really consider them playoff contenders, much less Super Bowl contenders. But what do they need to get back on track? Well, I think offensively, we have to consider the interior offensive line, specifically left guard, right guard. The Baltimore Ravens have two of the worst graded interior offensive linemen in the entire league. There's roughly 120 plus guards who are rated or qualified to be rated, and the Baltimore Ravens have two that rank at 120 or below. That is starting guard Andrew Voorhees and starting guard Daniel Faalele, with Andrew Voorhees being the worst. Now, these are a couple of offensive linemen that EDC said last season that the offensive line will be better this season than last season, but in fact, it's worse. The thing we should have known about Andrew Voorhees was all telling last season when he could not win his starting job back from Patrick McCarry. That should have told us everything we needed to know about Voorhees, and we should have been more prepared to have a supplemental replacement waiting in the wings just in case. Maybe that's what Emory Jones was supposed to be, but he went down and we were stuck with Voorhees. Nevertheless, interior offensive lineman, guard specifically, is one of the positions we should be targeting. Okay, I think that when we jump to the defense side of the ball, we should be looking at two positions. One is interior defensive line and the pass rush. Now, let's be very, very clear. Okay, with the loss of Justin Madubuike, that's the only reason why you're even questioning, or we will even be questioning, the upgrade or a trade at interior defensive line. And with the loss of Odafe, or trading away of Odafe, the loss of Tavius Robinson, it has put us in a desperate need for a pass rusher, especially when our pass rushers were not already getting the job done. All right. But I think the greatest preference is going to be the interior offensive line, because as I stated yesterday, in the greatest need or the major need for the Baltimore Ravens, or the greatest problem for the Baltimore Ravens, whichever way I stated it, it was the offensive line. And so I think that a simple target, right? Just a 2025 improvement. It doesn't really lean into longevity. It doesn't really lean into 2026 and 2027, is Kevin Zeitler. The Tennessee Titans have already given up on this season by firing their head coach. I think they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline. And so I think Kevin Zeitler, who the Baltimore Ravens should have never let go, they only lost him based on $2 million. But that's a part of that being cheap and uninterested in supporting the long-term sustainability of your quarterback. So I think Kevin Zeitler would be a easy trade. I think it's one that could happen, and I think it's one that should happen. Okay. There's some other targets. I will have some trades coming for you guys between Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But Kevin Zeitler would be an immediate improvement over Daniel Falele, and then we have to look to figure out what to do with Andrew Voorhees. There has been some talk that some things will be happening with the offensive line. There has already been talk that, especially from John Harbaugh, that there will be some things happening with the edge rush position, and so I'm here for it. When we jump to the defense side of the ball, when we look at interior defensive line, I think an easy and practical move could be just bringing in Christian Wilkinson. Now, I don't know what the situation was clearly from the Las Vegas Raiders, but they definitely saw last offseason the value in him to give him $100 million. But whatever happened, whether it was injury, locker room problems, organizational problems, they put him on the street and they still owe him money. And so I think that would be, unless he's already been signed. So somebody let me know. I didn't look it up, but I do know that he is the best guy available. He is a proven player. He's proven to be a pass rusher from the interior. And I think that he would be a guy who could come in, earn snaps immediately, and make an impact immediately, especially in run defense. And so I think that's a practical signing. Not to the practice squad, but right onto the roster. Practical, right? But we don't always do what's practical. I think a trade target for the interior defensive line would be going back to the Tennessee Titans and asking them, hey, let us get Jeffrey Simmons. He would fit right in under the cap space that we already have available. We can trade out a player. I don't have a player in mind necessarily, which would offset some of his salary, but I think he would fit right in. And if I'm remembering correctly concerning his contract, he's already under contract for next season. And I think that with the status of Nnamdi Madubuike, I think he is going to have to retire or at least miss next season, which I think we will get some cap relief. So a Jeffrey Simmons trade will be exactly what the doctor ordered. So Christian Wilkinson is the signing out of free agency, and Jeffrey Simmons would be the target in a trade. These are simple and practical trades that we could pull off for a downtrodden Tennessee Titans team. Okay, and then with the pass rush position, we know Harbaugh has already mentioned this, and I think it was even more of an importance with the injury to Tavius Robinson, who will be out about 8 weeks, which almost takes him to the end of the season. And so this is one of those positions that you're going to have to be willing to give up some draft compensation. If you're going high end, I think a 2027 first, a 2026 second could get something done. And the reason why I go 2027 first round draft pick is because if we continue to fall down in this season, our 2026 draft pick is going to be top 15, top 10. And so we don't want to give that up necessarily, especially not knowing how the season is going to play out. And so I think a 2026 second, maybe a late round pick included, and the 2027 first, I think that will be suitable to go and get a guy. So a guy that I have in mind is, I like Kayvon Thibodeaux, I do, but I would say let's just go get Brian Burns. Brian Burns is a guy who's already under contract. He nabbed a $5,150 million, so his contract is already locked in for the next 3 seasons beyond this season. And so you already know what you're going to pay him. And if you add a player in a trade who's under contract, I think that you offset some of that salary. And so I think I think you can get that done for a second and a first and a later first round pick, especially when they only gave up like a second or a third and some other late round picks to get him. And so that's who I'm targeting. I think we have some players that the New York Giants could like. And I think that being able to include a player and some draft capital to get a Brian Burns would be a high-end haul. And I think he would make an immediate day one on the field impact. So I got some trade stuff coming up for you guys. I got some draft stuff coming up for you guys. So I appreciate you guys. If you've been here this long, go ahead and do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Because as you guys know, we are getting that name change. It's probably going to come on Sunday. And so, man, I appreciate you guys for helping us get to where we've gotten to. And just hang with us. You guys are appreciated. I'm your guy, Belanger, and I'm out.